Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel as well as the artbyro.com website where you can find over 200 art and drawing tutorials. In today's lesson, I'm going to be showing you how I draw this scary clown. This is a follow-up to the cute cartoon clown I drew a couple of weeks ago, so check that out if you haven't done that yet. And also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified every time a new video gets released, which is right now once a week. So let's go ahead and go on over to the art studio and get started on that tutorial. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a cartoon clown drawing tutorial. Today, I'm going to be doing a scary clown. This is a lot of fun. I love drawing these. So if you want, you can follow along or watch the video through and then try doing it on your own after. So let's go ahead and start with the head. And I'm doing mine on an artist trading card. You can do yours on any size or type of paper you want, whether you want to do it on a sketchbook or scratch paper, it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and start by drawing a circle for the head. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just kind of sketch it out. Clean up your lines as you go if you want, or you can leave them. We'll clean it up later. And then we're going to draw a line down the center in each direction. And then let's go ahead and make a chin come down like that. And these are just going to be our guidelines. We're going to use these as a path to show us where we need to put things. So the next thing will be to draw the nose. We're going to put the nose right here. And I'm showing you just one way to do this. You could change the way you did the eyes, the nose, the shape of the face. There's a lot of ways to change up your drawings and add some variety to them or make it a little bit more your own. So now let's go ahead and do the eyebrow area. And we want them to look scary, so have them kind of arch up. You could make them more pointed if you wanted to, however you want to do that. And then we're going to finish drawing the eyes. He's not going to have rounded eyes. Those are just kind of placeholders. We want him to have more, I guess you could say, more realistic eyes. So have the eyes come down and up into the eyebrow area. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep working on making him a little bit more detailed. We're going to put the rest of the eyes in. Put the pupils in there. And you could have his eyes come out a little bit more. You can have them connect to that eyebrow ridge area. That's up to you. So then his mouth is going to come around down here. The nose is pretty much going to stay the same because he's just going to have one of them regular old clown noses. But let's bring the mouth up this way. Give him some cheekbones. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Keeping it pretty much symmetrical. And then come around the top. And then for the top of his head, he's going to have a little bit of like a widow's peak up here. So this is going to be the hairline's going to come around that way, like that. So now we are going to give him some pointed teeth because we want him to be creepy looking. And of course, you can change this up, make yours a little bit different if you would like. That is up to you, how you want to draw your clown and how scary you want him to look, and also what things to you feel scary. You might have some other ideas of how you can draw your clown, what's going to make him look more scary. So it's up to you how you want to draw the different elements of your clown. So we'll just refine this chin a little bit more. It's going to come down from where the teeth are. You can bring it up around the side a little bit more if you want. That's up to you. And then we're going to go ahead and do the hair. So we want his hair to be a little crazy looking. So we're going to have it come out. And if it runs off the edge of the paper, don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt anything. And just draw the hair coming up, following the shape of the head. And you can make his hair even more crazy if you want. But you want it to look like it's just kind of going crazy, standing out, poking out all over the place. And then the last thing we need to do is to draw in his costume or his clothing. So I like to draw this top, this little ruffly area around the chin. I like to make mine kind of blocked out with this guy. You could make it more rounded if you want. I think the squared off edges help to give that little bit of a creepy feel to him. Same thing with the rest of the clothing. I'm just going to make the shoulders coming down, but I'm going to use more straight type edges and kind of keep away from anything rounded with him, because I want him to have a little more of a creepy feel to him. And this will be his other arm coming down. And then we'll put some little buttons down the front. And that's pretty much it for this guy, for the actual drawing part of it. So now the next thing would be to get a black pen and do the outline. For the outline, I'll be using my black Sharpie pen. This is usually what I use for my outlines. And then I'm literally just going to trace right over top of my pencil lines with my Sharpie pen. You can use a marker for this. You could use something other than black if you want. You can do a thin line, a thick line. You could use a brush pen and vary your lines. That would look good. You could use just one pen and then go back over top and add some variation to the line weight. You could do that that way. Or you could leave the lines just consistent all the way through. Now, I don't really add a lot of details to the eyebrows for this. You could if you wanted to. You could give him more detailed eyebrows. I kind of just leave his eyes sort of the way they are up at the top with the eyebrow area. But that's up to you. You could try it both ways and see which one you think looks better. That's why I like working on artist trading cards. When I started working on artist trading cards, I found that it allowed me to loosen up a little bit and to experiment and try new things. Because before I had always worked on full page, either in my sketchbook or separate loose pieces of paper, but I was always working on full size, a little bit bigger drawings, and I didn't want to try anything new because I was afraid if I messed it up, I'd have to start all over, and they took so long to do. So then I started doing my drawings on artist trading cards, and I found that I was a lot looser with my drawings, and I felt like I could experiment a little bit more with them. So that's why I do my drawings on the artist trading cards, because I like the freedom that I feel with not having a significant, don't know why I can't talk today. If I don't have a significant amount of time wrapped up in a drawing, then I don't feel like everything has to be so perfect and I can't try something new and experiment and play around. So that's why I choose to work on the artist trading cards. And if you're not familiar with them, check out the description box. I'll put a link in there to my free artist trading card guide. It will show you how to cut out your own cards, what they are, a little bit of a history behind them, some ideas of what to do with them. So what I'm doing now is adding a little bit thicker outline to the outside edge of everything. I like how it looks with a heavier outline, and that's optional. You can do that or not, that's up to you. And then something else you can do, this is also optional. You can use your black pen and you could add some hatching or cross hatching to put a little bit of shading in there, and that'll add a little bit extra detail to your drawing. It breaks up those big areas a little bit. This is totally optional, it's up to you. It just adds a little something to the drawing. And you can do as much of it or as little as you want. It just depends on what you like. Go by whatever you think looks good. If you don't like it, leave it off. If you want more, add more. Again, that's where that freedom to experiment a little bit comes in. Not being so tense and uptight with the drawings and what you're doing with them. Put a little bit on the nose here. So then the final thing before adding color is going to be to use a block eraser, and this one just happens to be a black eraser. You can use the pink pearl erasers, it doesn't really matter. Just go over your drawing and get rid of all those pencil lines, clean it up, get it ready to start coloring in with some markers or color pencils or whatever you want to use. I like using markers. Anything will work. You could use paint. Color pencils would work really nice on this type of drawing. Let's just go right over top, clean everything up. And then after you erase, just check everything over real quick and make sure there aren't any gaps in your outline. Sometimes when you erase, there's areas that show through that look kind of funny and might need touched up a little bit. And then we'll grab some markers and get started adding color. So whenever I'm adding color to my drawings, I like to use usually 2 markers for each color. With the artist trading cards, because they're a little bit smaller, 2 colors seems to be usually what I end up with. If you're doing a little bit bigger drawing, you could use 3. So what I'll do is pick a lighter color and then something that goes with it that's slightly darker, but that will blend in with it nicely. And then what I like to do is put down the lightest color first, and I'll cover the whole area with that lighter color. And then use the darker color to add some areas of shadow and just to give a little bit more depth to the drawing. And then you also want to work in smaller sections. If you're using markers and you're going to try blending the colors together, you want to work while the markers are still wet. You have a little bit of time. It's not gonna dry up real fast, but you definitely don't want to try doing the whole drawing and then going back with the darker color later. Let's just add the darker in areas where you might see shadows. If you wanted, you could get really detailed with it and think about light sources and all those sorts of things. That's up to you. I usually don't worry too much about that because this isn't something that's an illustration or anything realistic. So I'm just trying to add a little bit of extra detail to it, give it a little bit of depth. And then just go back over the edges with the lighter color again, or you could use a blender if you have a colorless blender. I usually just use whatever marker I already have available. And then do the same thing so the nose is going to be red. I have a lighter red. And this marker's not the greatest, but I like this red for the nose and the hair. And then take the darker color. And I'll usually just go around the edge with it. And then switch back to the lighter color. And go back over it so it blends it in together. And then the same thing for the hair. I'll just go over the hair with the lighter color, then go back with the darker red. Add some darker areas to it. And of course you can make the hair a different color if you want. You can make it purple or green. Whatever color you want to use for it. And then I'll just follow the same process throughout for the areas that are white. So typically a clown would have a white face. So for the face, I will probably use a light gray just to add a little bit of shadow in there. And then the rest will just leave white. Or you could leave it white altogether and not add any gray to it. That's up to you. So we're just going to fill all this in. You do have to work kind of fast if you want to try to make sure the colors blend. So just filling all this in. Now you could do the dark color first if you wanted. I prefer to do the light and then go over top with the dark. That way I can adjust as I go how much of the dark I want in there, where if you do the darker area first, then you're kind of stuck with what you have. Where this way you can see what it looks like. Maybe you want to add a little bit of darker, a little more of the darker color, or maybe you want to leave it, but you can look at it and see what it's going to look like as you go. And then just kind of decide from there. Where if you do the dark first and then fill in with the light, you can't really see how the two look ahead of time. And it does use up a little bit more marker and it takes a little bit more time, but if you're not sure, maybe try out both methods and see which one suits you and feels more comfortable. And then as you layer the marker up, it will get darker. So you might want to go back over the other areas, darken it up a little bit. So there we go with the hair. And we're just going to keep working on this for the rest of the drawing. Let's go ahead and get this all finished up. So I have some blue picked out. And I'm going to be following that same process with the rest of the drawing. The only thing that's going to be slightly different is going to be his face, because as I mentioned earlier, that's white. And I'm going to put a little bit of gray shadows on it. But I'm only going to use just one light gray, and then the rest will be left just plain white. So another thing I want to mention about blending your colors, when your markers start to dry out, it's going to make it harder to blend, but sometimes you can flip it over and use the other end, and you'll get a little bit more pigment, some better saturation, and it'll blend a little bit easier. And one of the things I get asked quite a bit is if you can use different brands of markers together. And the answer to that is yes, you can use any brand of marker that you have available to you. As long as they are all alcohol-based markers, then you'll be able to blend them together. Now, if you're not trying to blend your colors, if you're just filling in just solid areas of color, then you won't need to worry about any of this. A lot of what I'm explaining is if you want to blend those colors together so they're a little bit softer and they don't have those hard transitions. So you can see it pretty good with the blue because these two blues are kind of far apart on the spectrum. You can see how the contrast between the two, the light and the dark blue, there's quite a bit of contrast between them. So I don't want that hard edge to be on there. So what I do to get rid of that is take this lighter marker and go over the edges, and it will darken that up a little bit, and then it'll also saturate that area with alcohol from the marker, and it'll make it kind of blend in together a little bit. So the blue, and this is the problem with markers, to get some really nice transitions that are smooth and gradual, you have to have quite a few markers because you need just the right color, one that is slightly different but not too different so that it leaves that harsh edge. So if you don't have, like this example with the blue, I don't have a blue that's in between these two. That would be closer to this darker or closer to the lighter marker. So sometimes you just have to do the best you can with what you got. even if you have the money to afford a large stack of markers, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be able to find the exact colors that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same yellow that I used on his clothes. I'm going to use these on his eyes. I'm going to give him yellow eyes. I think that helps add to the creepiness of him. And then I'm going to use that gray. And I just have a light gray. I'm going to add some of that in just so it's not just all plain white. Break that up a little bit. And of course, there's different ways you can do this. You can add some shadows on his face if you wanted. You could add some really cool shadows on here. That would make him look even creepier if you wanted to do that. I'm just trying to break up those big areas a little bit. Add some variation to his face so it's not just all plain white. His teeth I'm going to go ahead and just leave white. And then for the background, I'm going to do a green. I love this lime green color. So I'm going to do the same thing in the background. I'll fill in everything with the green and then add some darker areas on the edges with a darker green. And you could do something different for the background. You could maybe add some balloons, some kind of scenery to the background. You could do a solid color. You could do some kind of a fade where the colors fade into different colors. I'm going to just keep this simple. Just do the green on green. And then this is pretty much going to be finished up. The only other thing to do, which is optional, is to add some white with a, you could use a paint marker. I like using a jelly roll pen. I'm just going to go right around the edges with the green, with the darker green. You could also do the outside edges if you wanted to. I'm going to leave those on this one. And then with the white, you can just add a few little highlights. Again, just to break up those big areas of color. Do some on the hair. Add reflections on the eyes. Just add wherever you think it needs a little something extra. Or leave it off if you don't care for the white. So this is going to finish it up. That's it for the scary clown drawing. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. And I will see you next time. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to do some of your own scary clown drawings. If you did enjoy the video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. Also, check out that description box. There's some information in there for you. And I will see you next time. Bye!